Hey, sneak peekers, it's Gavin James. Today, I spoke with Bomani J. Story, the writer and director of the upcoming film, The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. The movie is a modern retelling of the classic novel Frankenstein, which follows 17-year-old genius Vicaria as she deals with violence, drugs, and police brutality in her community. After losing her mother and brother to this violence, Vicaria decides that death is a disease, and every disease has a cure. Unfortunately, Vicaria's attempt to restore her family might just unleash a monster in her neighborhood. So this is an adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And
Yeah.
I was curious, where did that come from? What made you think about this story in particular, and recontextualizing that into something completely different, but also very, fitting? I just
Yeah.
wanted to hear, where that kind of came from.
No, I mean, it started with the literature.
Mm-hmm.
I love the book. It's like I love it. And when I first read it, I was just floored by it. And it took me on this incredible emotional journey, and it gave me a lot of anxiety. It gave me a lot of thoughts. And it did scare me. I know a lot of people are kind of just like think the Frankenstein story is not scary, but it did scare me and it gave me anxiety. And it also opened up my understanding of what horror can be. One of
Mm-hmm.
those things being like, I think there's a mode of horror where it's like, okay, I heard something downstairs, don't go downstairs. I go downstairs, nothing's there. I'm looking around, and boo, it's like I'm
Right.
in
Yeah.
the closet, right? Like that's a mode of horror, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe in that, but I was like, but there's also disgust, there's being uncomfortable, there's like annoyance, it's like I know
Yeah.
these things don't eventually like strike your fancy when you think about horror, but to me when I'm thinking about horror, it's like it's a spectrum of things, of just finding all those type of emotions and trying to give all that to an audience. And like that's what Frankenstein did for me. All the films that I love, I you go in expecting one thing and you leave with more. And so that's what I always try to aspire to do with this film and with future films that I make. Like I would like to give audiences more than what they bargained for, in a good way.
One thing I wanted to ask was, with this being your first feature film that you're directing,
Mm.
what kind of challenges did you face with that? And how did you go about overcoming those?
Yeah, no, like I think it was more of just staying persistent. And on top of that, sounds cliche, but believing in yourself, because this is a this is a town that likes to say no. Everybody loves to say no. No is in vogue at
Right.
all times in Hollywood. It's in vogue, so it's
Yeah.
like you have to be able to understand that what you're doing is for someone, and believe in that, and understanding that all it takes is one person to be like, no, actually, I think this is right. And then them spearheading with you, right?
Mhm.
And I believe that just holding on to that is crucial. I had a mentor who I still talk to now, my professor from my film school, whatever, and one of the big things he always talked about was just like listening to what your actors need and what they need in order to create a space, for them to give their best performance, and trying to facilitate helping create that space, to me is like what I need to do. It's like that's how
Yeah.
that's how I have to move. You're always trying to, in every scenario, you're always trying to find the humanity in something, and get as visceral as you possibly can. And when I say visceral, I don't necessarily mean like, I mean, it's both. It can be both with, with
Mhm.
gore being visceral, but also just with human emotions and what you can connect with, emotionally as a human, and finding those things as much as you can, the vulnerabilities, uh And I just try to always examine and search for that on every level, whether that's, while I'm writing the script, you know what I mean? And then when I'm dealing with, or not dealing with, when I'm working with actors, or even just sound design, it's just like you're looking for a raw way to emotionally engage with your audience.
The last thing I kind of want to do here is just give you an opportunity to promote, where and when can audiences go see The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster?
It's coming June 9th in
Right?
theaters.
All
Yeah,
right.
in theaters.
Love
Check
to
it
hear
out.
that.
Check it out, please. Check out the movie. I hope that it gives you all the things that the original book gave to me.